Most people have no idea that their blood type quietly decides how their body survives stress, fights disease, and breaks down over time, long before any symptom appears. It doesn't just matter in emergencies, it shapes how your heart clots, how your brain ages, how your immune system reacts, and why certain health problems seem to follow some people their entire lives. Your blood type isn't a medical label, it's a survival code. It's a biological profile that quietly shapes how your body reacts to stress, food, infection, inflammation, and long-term damage. Two people can eat the same food, sleep the same hours, live the same routine, and experience completely different outcomes. One thrives, the other struggles. This isn't discipline, it isn't motivation, it's biology. Blood types did not appear randomly. Each one emerged as an evolutionary response to specific environmental pressures, scarcity, disease, migration, climate, crowded cities, isolated terrain. Your blood carries the record of what your ancestors had to survive. That history still runs through you. What makes blood type powerful is not the blood itself, but what sits on the surface of your red blood cells. Tiny molecular markers called antigens act like biological flags. They influence how sticky your blood is, how aggressively your immune system reacts, how your body handles stress hormones, and how efficiently oxygen and nutrients are delivered to tissues. These differences are subtle. You don't feel them day to day, but over years they compound. This is why some people are more prone to clotting while others bleed more easily, why some bodies calm down quickly after stress while others stay locked in alarm mode, why certain immune systems overreact and others miss threats entirely. None of this is random. Modern medicine often treats the human body as if we all run on the same operating system. But blood type proves that isn't true. We share the same organs, but not the same biological tuning. Your blood type influences how your body balances survival versus repair. In ancient environments, these traits were advantages. In the modern world, they can quietly turn into liabilities. A system built to clot quickly saved lives when wounds were common. Today, it can raise the risk of strokes and heart disease. A hyper-alert immune system protected against unfamiliar pathogens. Today, it may turn inward, driving inflammation or autoimmune issues. A metabolism designed for constant movement and hunting may struggle in a sedentary world. This is why one-size-fits-all health advice fails so many people. Your blood type doesn't determine your destiny, but it does tilt the playing field. Before we continue, one question matters more than anything else. Do you know your blood type, or have you been living in a body you don't fully understand? We begin with type O, the oldest and most widespread blood type on Earth. Roughly 38% of the human population carries it, not because it is superior, but because it came first. Type O is the default biological template, shaped long before agriculture, cities, or modern medicine existed. This is the blood of the hunter-gatherer. Type O bodies evolved for movement, endurance, and survival under constant threat. One of their most important traits is what researchers often call a low-friction circulatory system. Type O red blood cells lack the A and B antigens that make other blood types more adhesive. As a result, blood tends to flow more freely, reducing the likelihood of dangerous clots forming under stress. This trait mattered when survival meant running, fighting, or bleeding without medical help. It still matters today. Several population studies have shown that type O individuals have a statistically lower risk of certain cardiovascular events compared to non-O types. Their blood behaves more like water than syrup. In biological terms, that's a serious advantage. There's also evidence of neurological resilience.
Imaging studies suggest type O individuals may retain more gray matter in regions associated with balance and coordination as they age. While this doesn't make anyone immune to decline, it hints at a protective buffer that others may not have. But every advantage comes with a cost. To fuel a hunter's life, type O bodies run hot. They naturally produce higher levels of stomach acid, an adaptation that helped digest raw meat and kill parasites. In the modern world, that same feature often turns against them. Acid reflux, gastritis, and peptic ulcers are disproportionately common in type O populations. Hunger signaling is another issue. Type O nervous systems respond aggressively when protein intake drops. Miss meals, delay food too long, or undereat protein, and anxiety, shakiness, or irritability can spike quickly. The body still expects a successful hunt. Then there's the mosquito paradox. If you've ever felt like insects ignore everyone else but hunt you down relentlessly, it might not be imagination. Controlled studies have shown mosquitoes are significantly more attracted to type O individuals. Your skin chemistry emits signals they detect more easily. The trade-off? That same smooth blood structure makes it harder for certain parasites, including malaria, to bind and cluster inside your bloodstream. You itch more, but historically, you survived more often. Type O is resilient, mobile, and durable, but it is not gentle.
When humans stopped roaming and started settling, biology had to adapt fast. Cities emerged, populations exploded. People lived packed together with animals, waste, and new diseases. This is where type A blood entered the evolutionary timeline. Type A is not older than type O, it is an adaptation. Roughly 1/3 of the global population carries type A blood, and its defining feature is the A antigen, a molecular marker that acts like a biochemical security system. This antigen improved immune recognition in crowded environments, giving early agricultural societies better resistance to infections that spread easily among dense populations. In ancient villages, this was life-saving. Type A blood also clots more efficiently. From an evolutionary standpoint, this made sense. Farming tools caused frequent injuries. Faster clotting meant fewer deaths from blood loss. But biology doesn't update for modern life. What once protected now creates risk. Type A blood contains higher baseline levels of clotting factors, including von Willebrand factor. In a world without constant movement, this increases the likelihood of unwanted clots forming inside arteries rather than sealing wounds. Deep vein thrombosis, strokes, and certain cardiovascular conditions appear more frequently in type A populations, especially when combined with a sedentary lifestyle. But the most defining trait of type A isn't circulatory, it's hormonal. Type A individuals tend to carry higher baseline levels of cortisol, the stress hormone. More importantly, their bodies clear cortisol more slowly. When stress hits, the alarm doesn't shut off quickly, it lingers. This made sense in early civilizations. Hypervigilance kept communities safe. Someone always had to be alert. But in modern life, this trait becomes corrosive. Chronic stress, burnout, anxiety disorders, and inflammation-related illnesses cluster disproportionately around type A blood types. This isn't personality, it's chemistry. Stress doesn't just feel worse for type A individuals, it lasts longer at the cellular level. Cortisol stays elevated, disrupting sleep, impairing recovery, and increasing cardiovascular strain over time. There's another layer emerging from modern research. Large-scale analyses suggest non-O blood types, particularly type A, are associated with higher risks of metabolic disorders and certain cancers, including pancreatic cancer.
The working theory is chronic low-grade inflammation driven by immune signaling patterns tied to the A antigen. In simple terms, type A immune systems are excellent at fighting external threats, but less efficient at policing internal ones. Type A bodies were built to survive civilization's chaos, but they pay for it with heightened stress sensitivity and long-term wear.
As human migration accelerated, bloodlines collided, borders disappeared, traits merged. This is where the rarest and most paradoxical blood types emerged, the hybrids. We start with type AB. AB blood is the newest evolutionary experiment. Less than 5% of the global population carries it, and AB negative is rarer than 1%. From a biological standpoint, AB individuals are walking contradictions. They carry both A and B antigens. This makes them universal recipients for red blood cells. In an emergency room, an AB patient is the easiest person to save. Almost any blood can flow into their veins without triggering an immune attack. But that same tolerance comes at a cost. Because their immune system is trained to recognize more signals as self, it is often slower to identify threats. Studies have consistently shown that AB blood types carry a higher statistical risk for cognitive decline and certain inflammatory conditions later in life. One major longitudinal study found AB individuals were significantly more likely to develop memory and thinking impairments compared to type O. The suspected mechanism involves elevated clotting factors, which over decades subtly restrict oxygen flow through the brain's smallest vessels. Nothing dramatic, nothing sudden, just silent erosion. Now let's talk about type B, the nomads. Type B blood is most common in populations that historically lived in harsh, cold, or mountainous regions. These were not farmers, these were herders and travelers. Movement was constant. Survival demanded adaptability. Type B metabolism reflects that history. They tend to handle dietary fat and dairy more efficiently and show strong immune responses to many infections. But that strength has a shadow. Type B immune systems are aggressive. When they don't find an enemy, they sometimes create one. Autoimmune conditions appear more frequently in type B populations. The same immune force that protected ancestors from foreign pathogens can misfire in a modern, low-threat environment. Then there's Rh negative, across all blood types. Rh negative individuals lack a specific surface protein found in most humans. Medically, this creates a supply problem. They can only receive blood from other Rh negative donors. In trauma situations, that limitation becomes critical. Historically, this trait was dangerous for childbirth. Today, medicine compensates, but evolution hasn't erased the vulnerability. So, what does all this mean? Your blood type isn't destiny. It doesn't predict your future, but it does bias your system. It influences how your body handles stress, infection, inflammation, and repair. Your ancestors survived specific environments. Their adaptations live on in you. The real risk isn't your blood type. The risk is living as if everyone's biology responds the same way. So now I want to know, what blood type do you carry? Drop it in the comments and tell me, did any of these traits explain something you've noticed your entire life? If this helped you see your body differently, hit the like button. This channel exists to decode the biology you were never taught.